Hello, son of God, and my brother, say my mind, and you don't die. Give as you receive, and your release is Satan. This is the part 5 in the series Christ Forgiveness, How to Manifest Immortality Season 2. And today's teaching is, what is justice? Justice is the divine correction for injustice. Injustice is the basis for all the judgments of the world. Justice corrects the interpretations to which injustices give rise and cancels them out. Neither justice nor injustice exists in heaven, for error is impossible and correction meaningless. In this world, however, forgiveness depends on justice, since all attack can only be unjust. Justice is the Holy Spirit's verdict upon the world. Except in His judgment, justice is impossible, for no one in the world is capable of making only just interpretations and laying all injustices aside. If God's Son were fairly judged, there would be no need for salvation. The thought of separation would have been forever inconceivable. Justice, like its opposite, is an interpretation. It is, however, the one interpretation that leads to truth. This becomes possible because, while it is not true in itself, justice includes nothing that opposes truth. There is no inherent conflict between justice and the truth. One is but the first small step in the direction of the other. I repeat, there is no inherent conflict between justice and the truth. One is but the first small step in the direction of the other. The path becomes quite difficult, quite different. The path becomes quite different as one goes along. I repeat, the path becomes quite different as one goes along. Nor could all the magnificence, the grandeur of the scene, and the enormous opening vistas that rise to meet one as the journey continues be foretold from the outset. Yet even these, whose splendor reaches indescribable heights as one proceeds, fail short indeed of all that wait when the pathway ceases and time ends with it. But somewhere one must start. Justice is the beginning. All concepts of your brothers and yourself, all fears of future states, and all concerns about the past stem from injustice. Here is the lens which, held before the bully's eyes, distorts perception and brings witness of the distorted world back to the mind that made the lens and holds them very dear. Selectively and arbitrarily, every concept of the world built up in this way. Sins are perceived and justified by careful selectivity, in which all thought of wholeness must be lost. Forgiveness has no place in such a sin, for not one sin, but sins forever too. Salvation is God's justice. It restores to your awareness the wholeness of the fragments you perceive as broken off and separate. And it is this that overcomes the fear of death. For separate fragments must decay and die, but wholeness is immortal. It remains forever and forever like its creator, being one with Him. God's judgment is His justice. Unto this, a judgment wholly lacking in condemnation, an evaluation based entirely on love. You have projected your injustice, giving God the lens of warped perception through which you look. Now it belongs to him and not to you. You're afraid of him and do not see you hate and fear yourself, your true self, as enemy. Pray for God's justice. Pray for God's justice. You have to check the list about true prayer. Have a list. Pray playlist. Check it. It's a must. You need to learn how to pray. You need to be taught. You need to be taught. Pray for God's justice. And do not confuse his mercy with your own insanity. You need to be taught by the teacher who represents your true self, the Holy Son of God. You are the Holy Son of God. Pray for God's justice and do not confuse his mercy with your own insanity. Perception can make whatever picture the mind desires to see. Remember this, in this lies either heaven or hell as you elect. God's justice points to heaven just because it is entirely impartial. It accepts all evidence that is brought before it, omitting nothing and assessing nothing as separate and apart from all the rest. I repeat, it accepts all evidence that is brought before it, omitting nothing and assessing nothing as separate and apart from all the rest. From this one standpoint does it judge, and this alone. Here, all attack and condemnation becomes meaningless and indefensible. Perception rests, the mind is still, and light returns again. Vision is now restored. What has been lost has now been found. The peace of God descends on all the world, and we can see